What is good, YouTube? What is good? What is good? Welcome back into another episode 5. I titled the wrong one last time. It's two episode 3s now. Really, the last one, episode 4. So this is episode 5, man. Appreciate y'all tuning in once again, man. Hey, before I get into anything, though, I do want to say happy Easter to all of those who are out there, man. Celebratory, you feel me? Celebrating the Easter, the holiday today. Blessings to everyone out there, man. Hope you all stay safe and for them, just enjoy yourselves, be safe, be happy. So let's get straight into it, man. I'm gonna be riding solo for a little bit. It should have some guests coming in, joining up, man. The same dudes I'm always on with, but we'll see what time they pull in. It's no real telling, man. I know again it's a holiday, so I might do this show solo dolo today. But even if that is the case, we'll always have a good time. So let's get straight into it. So first things I want to talk about, man. If you've been listening out of the late for the past couple of weeks now, I say about 2 weeks, it's been a lot of speculation and rumors going around and involving Odell Beckham specifically in talks with the Dolphins. And it was actually said by Mike McDaniel, I believe, in just a little talk he was having with one of the reporters' interviews that was asking about speculations and rumors. And he has said that there's actually a contract on the table for Odell to come to Miami. So there's clearly interest there. There's clearly, two sides having somewhat of a, some kind of agreement on the table, even if Odell hasn't inked anything officially. There's something to be said about that regardless. So I'm getting my thoughts on whether or not I believe Miami should sign Odell, and this is something they should pursue. Me personally, I don't believe they should sign Odell because, for one, I don't think Odell is what you need. I think you need a guy that could do work in the slot. He can help you move the chains. He can help you, consistently catch intermediate over the middle passes, stuff like that. And not to say that Odell can't do those things, but that's not what Odell is. He's a primary, at this point in his career, he's a primary guy who's not going to play more than half the snaps a game. He's not going to line up in the slot and do intermediate to mid routes the entire game because he's a fragile guy at this point. Let's just, call a spade a spade. He's not going to be willing to take those kind of beats and bruises and just hits every week because when you're going across that middle, man, you're the third fiddle on the team. You're the chain mover. You're going to have to take some hits you don't want to take sometimes. And he simply put is not built for that. He never was, if we're being honest with ourselves. This isn't who he is, and I don't think this is a move that will really make all that much sense in the world because that's not Odell's game. He is an outside third receiver. He's a deep third receiver at his best, at his core. That's what he is. That's what he's always been. That's who we leave this game as. So I'm not one that believes Odell needs to be coming to the team, especially if he's asking for anything that exceeds vet minimum money. Because what you've seen from him last year, he's nothing but that at this point. Let's just call it what it is. I mean, he got hurt a lot for the Ravens. It was a lot of games where he couldn't even get you better than 40 yards a game. I mean, he's at best a third, fourth option receiver now. I mean, the injuries just simply caught up to him. It is what it is. But I'm not one of those who believe Odell needs to be coming to Miami. I don't believe he will provide this flair and glitz and glamour that a lot of people think he might provide because of the name, and that's it. Other than that, though, you're not convincing me that you're bringing Odell to be a better 3 than what Braxton Berrios is. Because at this point in Braxton Berrios' career, I think he's more suitable in what you need than Odell Beckham. It's just me. Now, maybe you can make somewhat of an argument that he could come in and just strictly be a depth piece. But again, you're not paying receiver money to a depth piece. And he's a guy, regardless of how he performed last year, he's a guy that's going to want his money. And if he is taking a vet minimum, I guarantee he's going to a guaranteed contender. So I don't see him coming in this team on a vet minimum deal, just like I don't think the team should sign him to anything above that. So I just don't think it works out or pans out in their favor, in my personal opinion. So if it was up to me, I wouldn't bring in Odell. But again, it's not up to me. It is what it is. I don't have a say-so in these things at the end of the day. I just give my opinion. So Now that I said for what I would do, what do I think the team would do is the question. Now, ultimately, again, I think the team has made it pretty clear that they want Odell on the team because if they didn't want him on the team, they wouldn't have made an offer to him. It's that simple. When you want when you want something, you go try to get it, and they're literally trying to get it by telling you they quite literally gave him a contract and it's his to be signed. So that tells me all I need to know right there that they want Odell, they value him, they believe he brings something good to the table or can bring something good to the table still at this point in his career, despite the fact that he has had his injury woes. He has clearly lost his step, whatever, however you want to describe it. But at the end of the day, if that's what they believe can help this team get into the next direction or go in the right direction, then I'm cool with whatever, as long as it does exactly that. This team goes in the right direction. Because if they continuously just go on this same old hamster wheel where they're starting off good, they look good, mid-season they start to kind of fizzle out. They still look somewhat competitive, and the end of the season comes, they just look like what the hell happened at the beginning of the year? Like you're not the same team. So at the end of the day, whatever they feel as if can help them to prevent that, what has been a 2-year issue now, hopefully it's not a 3rd-year issue. They need to do so. And if bringing in Odell, you feel as if helps you prevent from slowly but surely losing, momentum going in late in the seasons because of whatever reason, then I say bring them in. Then I won't have nothing against that because, again, the goal is to be competitive in the postseason and win playoff games. This is something this team has not done in a long time. As Dolphins fans, we know this. So they need to get to that point where they're going back to doing those things. And I just think it has to come a point where, that's what they're prioritizing. Like, listen, I get it. This team isn't in a position to necessarily just go all in and try to win every game possible because there are a lot of holes on the team. But at the same time, there's a lot of talent still. And it's a lot of guys who are talented who aren't getting younger. Ramsey not getting younger. Tyreek not getting younger. Um, When Jalen Phillips and Chubb come back, they're not going to get any younger. They're not going to get any healthier. Like you got to make it work at some point. So it has to come to that point that you start to actually piece together these games and these seasons and actually bear fruit from them. Because this team has been too talented for the past 3 years now. They've been too talented. So they have to figure something out in order to make it happen. Now, with that being said, the whole Odell thing, like I said, man, if they feel as if he could come in and give them something that they need to get over that hump and get a playoff win, I'm all for it. But outside of that, if that's not what they feel as if they need to get a playoff win and they're just signing him for the sake of adding receiver depth, I don't think that's the guy you need to be signing. That's just me. But with that being said, let's get off into the next topic I had to discuss today. And that topic is in regards to Tua Tagovailoa again. Now, there are reports coming out that there's nothing imminent about Tua's future right now in terms of receiving a new contract. I'm going to read the report from what I've seen. Now, it wasn't a credited source or anything like that. I'm just giving y'all what I've seen. Now, it may be some truth to this, and it may not be, but let's just read it. It's a Tua Tagovailoa extension isn't the most pressing matter for the Dolphins at this time, per the Miami Herald. An agreement isn't imminent, and there is no rush to finalize a deal. So like I said, there's no name signing off on this. There's no credible source other than this, the Miami Herald, the newspaper that literally covers the team. But there's no name behind it. So this could just be something that people are saying just for the sake of, clicks, reads, stuff like that, subscriptions, whatever. I don't know. But what I do know is this brings up an interesting topic, because if you all have not been following the last couple of weeks, a lot of people have been tying the Miami Dolphins to the Michael Penix Jr. And for those who don't know who Michael Penix Jr. is, Michael Penix Jr. is in this upcoming draft process. He plays for Washington. Is it Washington he plays for? I could be wrong. Yeah, it's Washington. It's Washington. I don't know why I'm tripping. But plays for Washington, pretty athletic guy. He had a really good, impressive pro day. You got to give him credit for that. And he shows he has, at the very least, a higher ceiling as an athlete than Tua. I'm not sure as a quarterback, but who knows? He may very well do have that. Now, the problem with the Michael Penix things and the things people are saying about him is that, and one of my friends on here who I spoke with, Lewis, had alluded to this, was that he also has an injury history, and that is a problem. And to me, in my personal opinion, I don't believe Michael Penix is this great quarterback. I don't see that when I see him play. I see a good enough athlete. I think he's a good athlete. I don't think he's special, though. I think he's like the Jalen Hurts kind of mode where he's a good athlete. He's not phenomenal or special, but he's a good athlete. I think he has a good enough arm. I think he has enough IQ to play the game. I think Tua is the smarter player between the two if I had to choose. But the question is, who would you rather build around? And honestly, that's a tough one because they both have strengths and pros and cons over one another. I think Tua is more accurate. I think he's a smarter quarterback. I think he makes better decisions. But I think Michael Penix is just the more naturally gifted athlete, more gifted thrower over football in terms of the velocity he could put on the ball, the arm strength, things of that nature. I think he's a slightly better playmaker because of his athleticism and ability to roll out and, make things happen with his legs. So they have pros and cons against one another where you kind of weigh them and see what you really want out of the position and what you think is the best direction for you to go in. But the issue is that this is a one-time thing. Like, the draft isn't going to be, 2-3 years straight where you can possibly get a guy in Michael Penix Jr. Because while you can get better prospects maybe in the next year or so, the problem is you have to make a decision about Tua almost immediately, because with him knowing his health and his injury history, I doubt that this is a guy that's going to go into this season without an extension and have no guaranteed money to the point where he's literally just not, you feel me, insured, basically. Like, he's not promised or guaranteed anything, where he's just simply going to be playing on the 1-year deal, getting half of what he could have gotten if he inked an extension, for the next 3 to 4 years. And I think that's something his agent isn't going to allow him to do, and I think that's something he doesn't ultimately want to do. Because at the end of the day, we got to understand, these are grown men. This is their careers at the end of the day. They are negotiating for their livelihoods, their families, their parents, this is a man with kids and, you feel me, and a wife. Like, he has people to not only feed, but to take care of once he does retire from this game. So who's to say, God forbid, who's to say Tua doesn't get hurt next year and he's out for the year because of a catastrophic injury? Now his contract talks, all that's out the door. No one is going to give him anything other than a 1-year prove-it deal, see if you can stay healthy and play at a high level. So I don't see him taking that kind of chance because, for one, I think Tua's a smart guy. I don't think he's just going to go out there and play on a 1-year deal, basically, or the last year of a contract, and not playing on some kind of another extension. So I think the Dolphins right now are stuck in between a rock and a hard place, and it's not a good place to be because you have to make split decisions. And when you have to make split decisions, you have to have a guy that can be smart and think quick on his feet. And they do not have that guy. If you've been watching my channel long enough, you know good and damn well I'm not a believer in Chris Greer at all. I don't believe Chris Greer has anything to show that he can make the split decisions or choices that will be beneficial for the team in the long term. He just hasn't done that, and he hasn't proved that he can make those kind of choices. Because at the end of the day, when you're choosing between the guy who's been your best quarterback since Dan Marino or Chad Pennington, if you want to argue Chad Pennington, if you choose between the guy who's been the best quarterback you've had for quite some time versus a guy who has the potential to be better than that guy, That's a hard choice to make. There is no right or wrong answer per se. It's just what your gut tell you at that point. And sometimes your gut right, sometimes it's wrong. But you gotta make a choice. That's what it comes down to. You have to make a choice. And I just don't know if he has it in him to make the right choice at this point. He hasn't made it pretty much his entire career as the GM as the Dolphins. So I don't know. But back to the Tua Tagovailoa thing. My honest opinion, man, I said already, if it's gonna cost 50 plus anything to keep Tua, I say, hey brother, I appreciate you for your service. Thank you for all you've done these years, but that's a little too steep for my liking. Go find your money somewhere else, man. It's that simple for me because I'm not paying a quarterback 55, 50, nothing if my quarterback hasn't won a playoff game yet, if my quarterback hasn't won a division yet, if my quarterback ain't MVP, ain't a top 3 MVP, ain't win no kind of accolades, awards, team accomplishment, contribute to team accomplishment, nothing. If my quarterback has none of those things to show for his actions, why am I giving him that? I mean, that's just how I feel. Like nothing against the brother, nothing against Tua. I wish him the best, whatever he may do or whoever he may play for. But what does he have to show to why he's getting a $55+ million contract annually? That he led the league in passes, that he had a high QBR, that he had a high completion percentage. Ladies and gentlemen, we pulled the numbers. We pulled the numbers several times on this show about how Tua has basically been awful against superior teams or playoff teams. Like it's not good. Like I've pulled the records that he has had in January and December. It's not good. And those are the months, those are the games that show you who you really got. When you play people that are worth a damn, and when you're playing late into the season when teams got you figured out, and if you can make adjustments, that just doesn't fall on him. Don't get me wrong, that's a Mike McDaniel issue as well. But it's also an issue when you have a limited quarterback who can only do so many things at a high level. Listen, the accuracy and the touch on this ball and the intermediate throws, excels at it. He excels at it. But throwing outside the numbers, struggle. Consistently pushing the ball downfield. Unless Tyreek is 3-5 yards in front of a guy, that's a struggle. To get out the pocket and make plays, that's a struggle. To make plays outside the structure, that's a struggle. I mean, he's not doing anything that's overly impressive outside of when you're just looking at the numbers. Because when you look at it and you really watch the games, he makes good throws at times. I'm not taking that from him. But majority of the time when you're watching these games, Tua isn't doing anything overly impressive, if we're just being honest. Now, that's not to say he hasn't gotten better. That's not to say he hasn't made impressive throws, because he has. I've told a lot of people that I don't appreciate them being disingenuous by him not making great throws. He has made a lot of great throws these last 2 years. I got to give him credit for that. But we were talking about him as a player, as a whole. He's not a playmaker. And this is a league full of playmakers now, and that's the biggest problem. Can he be a playmaker when things break down, when the team gets you figured out, when they make an adjustment to your adjustment, and now you got to do something a little different to gain back the edge or to get that first down, or when Tyreek Hill is jammed to the ground in the playoffs, can you find someone else off your first read? Can you whatever? Can you do it? And the answer has clearly been no. And that is the issue, and that's the problem that we're having right now as a team. That's one of the biggest problems we're having right now as a team is just a simple fact that we have a quarterback that isn't a big playmaker in his own right. He's not going to extend plays. He's not going to take off and create consistently. He's not going to He's not what you typically see smaller quarterbacks be, where they be somewhat mobile, a little athletic. I'm not saying everyone's Kyler Murray because they're not, but when you see smaller quarterbacks, you tend to see them be a little bit more physically gifted, and he's just not. You look at Russell Wilson, you look at Kyler Murray, you look at Steve Young from way back when, you look at uh, Johnny Manziel at one point. You like when you just look at the smaller quarterbacks, even Baker Mayfield to an extent. When you look at these guys, typically they are mobile and athletic enough to make plays with their legs when need be. They can extend plays. They are decent playmakers. Tua at this point isn't even that, and that is a concern. The only other athlete that's the only other quarterback, excuse me, that's ever been that undersized and still has a sense in the league was Drew Brees, and that's who everyone compared him to. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you right now, he's not Drew Brees. He's not Drew Brees. He doesn't have the same charisma, the same confidence that Drew Brees has, and that stuff matters. That stuff matters in your quarterback, especially because at the end of the day, your quarterback is the guy who you gonna live and die by. That's just what it is. That's the guy that's going to be there for the longer 9 out of 10 times than any other guy that's on the roster. They're going to be there longer than any other coach that might even be on the roster on the team. Hell, they might be there longer than GMs. Like, because again, the quarterback, when you draft a guy top 5 like you do with Tua, that's the guy, that's supposed to be the guy for the next 10 to 12 years. Who knows how many players and coaches come and go during that time span? So, again, this is supposed to be a guy that's supposed to last longer than everyone else that's on the roster right now. It's supposed to, but is that going to happen? And should that be the route they take? I don't know. I mean, like I said, for 50, 55 million, that's not the route I'd take. That's my personal opinion. Now, it's something else I wanted to get into before I get into the early predictions in terms of the records and the opponents. I'm going to briefly discuss something in regards to this team and what I think the biggest issue is with this team right now, why they cannot seem to get it figured out or get over that playoff win hump that we haven't seemed to be able to do my entire life at this point. Excuse me. But my two biggest things to why I think the team can't get over that hump is, and I'm not going to include Tua because I just went on about a 8-minute rant about Tua. I'm not going to include him. I'm going to talk about other issues with the team that I think are concerning and need to be addressed, and some things that has bothered me. Now, I'm not sure if you all seen or not, but Mike McDaniel came out just like in the same interview when he said the Dolphins offered Odell a contract. He came out in the same interview essentially saying that, we offered, we was speaking about how, I was calling plays, talking in regards to himself. He said he's going to stick to calling plays. And I think that's a problem because the simple fact is, my guy, you are an NFL head coach. You need to be focused on all 3 facets of the game: special teams, defense, offense. I get it. That's your bread and butter, is why you're here. I understand. But when you look at guys like Andy Reid, when you look at guys like, excuse me, when you look at guys like Andy Reid, Bill Belichick, Sean McVay, these great minds, or whether it's the offensive or defensive side of the ball, you see them also have good OCs. Look at Eric Bieniemy for years with the Chiefs. Everyone gave a lot of people, not everyone, a lot of people gave credit to Eric Bieniemy for being the disciplinary amongst the offensive players, like with Patrick Mahomes, like with Tyreek Hill. He got credit for his play designs and his wit and the things he would do, his in-game adjustments. And he's the OC for Andy Reid. If you're going to sit here and tell me Andy Reid isn't powerful enough to not give up his play calling duties during games at times, but you think Mike McDaniel, a guy who has achieved nothing at this point as a head coach, let's just be honest about it. I mean, yeah, it looks good, it looks better, but what has he accomplished? What has he won? If you think you're gonna try to convince me that Andy Reid can realize these things, but Mike McDaniel can, it's a problem. It's a huge problem, and that's one reason why the offense seems to be so stagnant at times when they play your. Excuse me. Yeah, I must be tired. But when they playing better teams, because the offense quite literally they seem to do the same thing because they have the approach. If it's not broke, don't fix it. You know, they intermediate passes across the middle, slants, you know, little short, little hitches and curls and things of that nature. You'll get like a little outside corner or out route here and there, but it's not really a strength of Tua's game, so you don't see it that often as much as I think you could see it. But it's not really a strength of the quarterback, so again, you don't really see it that much. But the problem is, where are the in-game adjustments? Where are the in-game adjustments? Where are the people who are trying to make things change when things aren't working correctly? And those people need to be the coaches. And Mike McDaniel needs to be focused in and keyed in on making adjustments in the game versus trying to call plays the entire game, because now you're too locked in and too focused in on one thing and you can't focus on the other. This is how Bradley Chubb got hurt. He literally said in the interview he was lost in the game flow. He was, going through his regular motions, stuff like that, trying to figure stuff out. Boom, Bradley Chubb gets hurt in a meaningless play in a meaningless game when you're down 30 points. Should have never been in the game. Now you may not have him the first month of next season. Same thing with Jalen Phillips. Another meaningless game. You're up big. It's late in the game. Just take the guys out. Take the guys out. They don't need to be in the game. And that's why he does not need to be calling plays. Like, it's not that he's just bad at it, but he's not great at it either, for being honest. I mean, there's plenty of bad play calls that you could point to and questionable play calls you could point to. So it's not that he's just that fantastic at it to be so hell-bent and stuck in his ways. And that's what confuses me. I mean, the dude Frank Smith, I don't know if he's coming back or not, but the dude Frank Smith was interviewed for a head coaching job at Carolina. I mean, he's good enough to get a head coaching interview, but he's not good enough to even call plays. Like, what are we doing? Get a guy opportunity, give him a chance. Like, so you got to do something has to give at the end of the day. And I think that something is he has to start being honest with himself and say, you know what? I have a lot on my plate. It's a lot going on. I have a locker room full of 50 plus men that all need me to pay attention to the details in regards to not just the game, but them as individual players, so that we can be the best version of ourselves each and every week. And he's simply, in my personal opinion, he's not doing that right now. It's an issue. It's an issue. And the reason I say it's an issue is because, again, if you were doing what you were supposed to do, Bradley Chubb isn't hurt. If you're doing what you're supposed to do, Jalen Phillips not hurt. If you're doing what you're supposed to do, Tua doesn't stay bad at the things he's bad at and has been bad at since he came in the league. These things wouldn't be still happening or still rearing their ugly heads around the corner if you were really doing your job as a coach, a head coach, and improving these players and putting them into the best possible positions to succeed. And I just personally don't think he's doing that. So one of my biggest things is that he's ultimately still calling plays, which will lead to, in my opinion, him losing track of the rest of the team and even the flow of the game itself. I think that's a problem. Now, with that being said, I also believe the other issue we're having is the players as a whole, not Tua, not just Tyreek, not just Raheem Mostert, whoever you want to name, but the players as a whole are not disciplined. And I firmly believe that. We do not have to agree, ladies and gentlemen. I know a lot of people I know a lot of people do not agree with that. I know a lot of people would disagree with that. A lot of people have. But I, for one, believe this team is a discipline. I spoke about this on the first episode we ever had on here. And I said this when I forgot his name. One of the executives for the Eagles, when he was speaking on Vic Fangio, basically alluded to how like a lot of the players didn't like Vic Fangio because Vic Fangio demanded more out of them. He wanted them to work harder, to be great, to be the best version of themselves. And a lot of guys didn't like being pushed like that. Same thing with that same thing happened with Brian Flores. I don't know if people remember that or not, but Jerome Baker came out himself and said it that a lot of guys didn't like his coaching style because he was tough on them. Even though he said himself he personally didn't mind it, but he said a lot of guys didn't like it because he was tough on them. They didn't like being pushed to the limits or things of that nature. A lot of guys play for Miami. Let's face it. Let's be real about it. They play for Miami because the lifestyle and the tax-free state. That's why they're there. The beaches, the women, the clubs, the money. Like that's why a lot of people come. That's why a lot of people love to be there. A lot of people don't really come there to play football. They're not grinding, bro. It's not a grind. A lot of them are there to, live the nightlife. Omar Kelly himself has came out and said, if y'all don't know who Omar Kelly is, he's one of the he used to work for the Sun Sentinel. He used to have a podcast with Dave Hyde and stuff like that. I love Omar Kelly because he's transparent. I don't agree with a lot of things he say, but I respect his transparency and I respect his honesty. And I got to give him that, man. I respect a man that's honest about his beliefs. So he basically came out and said he has known multiple players who has left practice and with the Tootsies, which if you're from Miami, is not far at all from the stadium, probably 10 minutes, 12 minutes at best. So they go straight to nightclubs and, strip clubs and stuff like that right after practice. And he said he's known players who has done that and witnessed it himself. So, again, it's not hard to believe that there are players on the team that still does these things. And that's why I believe the team is undisciplined. And the reason I say they're undisciplined is because you see it on the field. I mean, players pushing the shove again on this unsportsmanlike conduct penalties when the game is out of reach by 25, 30 points. Bradley Chubb throwing his helmet on the field because he upset because he missed the sack. You got Christian Wilkins who was here. He's seen, I think he got like 2, maybe 3 unsportsmanlike conduct or roughing the passer penalties on quarterbacks on completely unnecessary hits that he didn't have to do, just trying to mess with the opponent's QB. Like, those things to me is a disciplinary issue. Just like with the amount of false starts you get, just like with the pre-snap penalties you get. Those are disciplinary issues, and they seem to be plaguing this team the last 2 years. And in my personal opinion, it has to stop. If you want to go to that next level of you being the team that isn't going to beat itself, the team that's going to be competitive and beat almost any team in front of them on any given Sunday, or just overall just being the team that can just get over the hump and actually compete for something and possibly win something. Like it's just not, in my personal opinion, it just does not seem logical to sit here and believe that this team is just going to figure it out next season, but they come in with the same issues and the same mistakes. If they come out next season, they have the same issues, poor tackling, pre-snap penalties. What else? There was a glaring issue for me. The drops. Oh my Jesus, the drops from the receivers, absolutely terrible. The drops, missed assignments. Like if these things continuously be a problem next season, I don't see how this team is going to improve and ultimately be where they want to be. And in my personal opinion, that's a hard thing to accept because the last 2 years, last 2-3 years, this has been a team that's been in position to ultimately compete with nearly any team in the AFC. When you went out and got Chubb, when you went out and got Tyreek, You had Waddle in place. You had a pretty solid offensive line unit. You went out and got Teron Armstead. You had Robin Hunt. Connor Williams was here. You had a pretty solid unit. Austin Jackson has panned out and turned into a pretty serviceable, pretty halfway good, decent, whatever you want to call him, right tackle. Your O line was solid. It was solid. It wasn't spectacular by any means, but it was solid. You had good playmakers. Waddle and Tyreek. Any quarterback in the league is taking the combination of Waddle and Tyreek. That's why it frustrates me to hear people say they need more receivers. No, they do not. They're not hurting for receivers. What they need is a guy that isn't limited in making certain progressions, reads, and throws so the offense can fully be expanded. That's what they need. And some of that falls on the player, and some of it also falls on coaching, because who is helping him improve in these areas? You're not. Who is pushing him to get better at throwing outside the number of passes? Who is pushing him to get better at going through his progressions? Who is pushing him to get better at being able to keep a play alive and to fill the pocket and have better pocket awareness? Who is pushing him to do these things? No one. And how I know no one is doing this because, again, it's the same issues we've seen with Tua the past 4 years since he's been in the NFL. It's the same issues. Nothing has changed. So, again, in my opinion, we just have to be honest and call it what it is. So until these things can get cleaned up, bro, I just don't see this team going where we think they could be or possibly be competing for. I just don't see it. It's unfortunate, man. It's extremely unfortunate. And so we got someone who's joining up right now. What up, my boy? How you feeling?
Feeling great, feeling great. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, man. I can't complain. I can't complain. So I pretty much went through the first 2 topics and like a little bonus one.
Right.
So we could go back through it real quick. So just to get your answers on some of these. So I spoke about earlier about the Dolphins and the possibility of them signing Odell Beckham. I'm not sure if you heard, but Mike McDaniel did say that there is an offer on the table for Odell, and that basically the contract is his if he wants it. So what's your thoughts on that? Or do you think Odell should be brought in?
For the right price, I'm not paying him 20 million or like 16 million like he wants. He's not that kind of
Mm.
guy anymore. I would want, but yes and no. Obviously, like having Odell as your third option would be great, but another reason why I kind of lean towards no's because I mean he'd probably be in the same position Cedric Wilson was in. Like Tua probably won't look his way as much. It'd just be air raid Tyreek all over again. So
Mm.
I don't see a point of bringing in a guy like Odell if you're not going to use him to his full ability. We don't even use Jalen Waddle to his full ability. So
Right. I agree with that completely. That's what I was saying earlier. I mean, I don't, and this I know it's gonna be unpopular, but I don't believe it's the receivers who are the problem. I think it's the play calling and the quarterback limitations. That's what I think it comes down to ultimately. I think Cedric Wilson and Braxton Berrios are more than capable of giving you full 500-yard seasons if given the ball. They've
yep,
done it before, so it's not like they're incapable of doing it. They can. The problem is when you're only getting 2 targets every other game, you're not gonna get the numbers. So
exactly.
it's difficult to sit here and blame those guys to why they're not getting the production when they're quite literally just not getting thrown the ball. Like there's nothing you could do about that.
I don't think Odell fixes anything. I literally think he would probably be Cedric Wilson. He'll probably get a couple grabs here and there, but the problem I have with Odell coming in is not with Odell. It's with Tua. Is Tua going to look through his progressions? Is he actually going to feed Odell? Because at that point, Odell has the best hands on the team. Like you should feed a guy like that because drops has, especially crucial situations, has been a problem for the Dolphins for a while. But the thing is,
Mhm.
would he look to Odell in those crucial situations? I don't think he would. I think he just probably air raid Tyreek all over again.
Right. And I think that's a part of the issue. And I also think play calling is a part of the issue because it seemed that the offense is Tyreek Hill's centric. Because as we seen with the Titans game when he went down, abruptly, the offense just looked horrible. It was
Yeah,
terrible. I mean, when they had a week of prep against a garbage Jets team without him, I mean, I guess it looked a little better, but again, it's the Jets. It's not saying much when you beating the Jets when they pretty much were more beaten before the game started because they lost their morale to play that season.
yeah,
So it's not really. I'm not really moved by that. So it's really for me personally. They have to start showing that not only can Tua improve in areas of weaknesses, because like I was saying before you got on, like certain areas he isn't good at. He's not to me. He's not good at throwing outside the numbers.
hmm
He's not as good as going through his progressions as I thought he was coming out of college. His pocket awareness is solid, but it's not as good as I thought it was.
right.
And to just be frank, he's not a good playmaker. Like if
No,
it's not in script, man, it's nothing. Like he's giving you nothing. So it's hard to sit here and blame the receivers when you got a limited quarterback and you got a coach that's literally not calling your number. It's hard to blame the receivers.
yeah, I know, I agree. And on top of that, I don't think Odell solves anything. I think like what they're offering Odell, we need to put that energy towards another position. Like we still need depth on that D line. Like who knows how long Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb is going to be out for? Like we still need some depth, regardless if they come back or not. Like I'd rather them focus on that. I'd rather them still try and get some depth at the linebacker position. Like that's what I think they should do. I don't think I don't receiver is like top three last things we got to worry about.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. Because, like I said, I think the receiving room got a bad rep, man. I think a lot of people been saying they need this and that, and the third. Because outside of Jenna Waddle and Tyreek, they got nothing. I don't agree with that. I thought Cedric Wilson and Braxton was pretty damn solid. Especially when they got opportunities. I just think they need opportunities. That's what it
Cedric,
comes
we,
down to
we
me.
got Cedric Wilson off his best year with Dallas. Like he's proven that he can play. We just don't give
Mhm.
him the opportunity to play. That's the
Right,
issue. And
right.
I feel like Braxton Berrios is like his value is gonna go up a lot now with this new kickoff rule. Which I'm excited for because I did like that's one thing I love about the XFL was the kickoff. So I feel like people are gonna give Braxton Berrios a little bit more praise because he is an All Pro returner, and with this new kickoff rule, shit, I'm hoping for at least a tud from Berrios. So hopefully people put
Right,
more respect on his name.
right. So the next topic we gonna get into and staying on topic with Tua was that it was reported by the Miami Herald that a Tua Tagovailoa extension isn't the most pressing matter for the Dolphins right now, and an agreement isn't imminent, and there is no rush to finalize the deal. So first thing first, what are your thoughts on that in regards to him not having a deal that seems to be of utmost emergency for the team right now? And if that is the case, why do you think that is? Or do you think they're starting to try to look to see if they can move on, or what do you think the case may be?
This what it is. They're telling me without telling me that they're looking at options before they give this thing into a. They're looking around, see what they like, because we've heard rumors with Michael Penix. They're probably looking at him or Bo Nix, or even next year they're probably thinking like, what if we exercise this 5th year option and you know wait for Shador. So
Mm-hmm.
I think they're what's the saying? I think they're evaluating everything right now. Like they're considering a lot of things before they get Tua. And I also think they saw how Tua performed last year, especially in like cold weather conditions. If they could upgrade. So I think they're like looking at their options before they do something drastic as to give him $50 million a year.
Okay. And so, what do you think they should do?
Honestly, get Shador next year. I'd say exercise his 5th year option And I tell Tua, if you really want to be the franchise quarterback, you really want to be this guy, you got to give Miami a playoff win. We have too much of a talented team to not at least get a playoff win. That's what I would tell them. Like you want this money, get a playoff win. Throw with this offense, no reason why you shouldn't be throwing for 30 touchdowns. Give me 30 touchdowns, get me a playoff win. If you can't give me that, you're moved on, buddy. This roster is too talented. Even if we lose Tyreek Hill, this roster is still too talented to not do something. So if you can't
Mm,
give me 30 tuds, you can't give me a playoff win, you can't give me a division title, you're gone, bro. Giving you too many chances.
right. Nah, I think unless they make some kind of unexpected run in the postseason, I think it's wraps. I mean, if they truly are weighing all their options, if Tua doesn't go out and help lead this team to, at the very least, in my opinion, the AFC Championship, I don't really see the reasoning to bring him back at that point because I mean, hell, Trevor Lawrence got the Jaguars to the divisionals. Like, I
Hmm.
mean, that's not a tall feat in my opinion. I mean, especially when you got the team to do so, you got the talent. I mean, it's not like you out there playing with scrubs. Like these dudes can play.
Yeah.
So when you look at the Dolphins on paper, even after free agency, you can make an argument they got a top 8, top 10 roster in the league. You make that argument. So you got a good team around you, bro. You got a coach who's sold his soul to essentially come play with you. So what's the real issue here? So at some point, you gotta pan it, you gotta put it together. It has to pan out. And it just hasn't.
Eventually, we just have to a change got to happen. And honestly, I don't see Mike McDaniel going anywhere either. But like the main thing, like if I'm in there negotiating a contract, like the main thing I'm telling Tua, when we get to December and January time, you can't play like shit. Like this is like that's the time of year where you need to be on fire. You need to give me wins there. You need to get me 30 tuds this year because last year he had like 27. Like
Mhm.
like an offense with the with the leading rushing touchdown leader, in offense with Tyreek Hill who was on pace for 2K, an offense with Jalen Waddle on the other side. No reason you should be having fucking like 27 TDs, bro. Zero excuse. Give me 30 tuds. Play good in January, December and January. Get us a division title because you had it, and because of your piss poor play, we lost it. Well, not it's also Mike McDaniel's coaching, but that can be fixed before Tua can, and get us a playoff win. If those boxes ain't checked off, you're not getting your money. You're
Mhm.
gone.
Right. And the next topic I was talking about, it was kind of like a spitball idea I had. Hold on. All right, my bad, man. But
You
so
good?
my next topic was that basically, essentially, what in your opinion, if you had to sum it up, what do you think is the biggest reason why the Dolphins have not gotten over that playoff hump yet? Like, why haven't they? Like, we both agreed that they've accumulated a lot of talent. They have immense talent from the perspective of individual players. Like, what is the biggest reason for, in your belief, why you think they haven't got over that hump yet?
Um, I feel like they just get too laid back. I feel like this franchise has been in poverty for so long, and I feel like the fan base has a lot to do with it too. I feel like the fan base rubs off a lot on the players, and people are
Mm,
just content with an 11-win season, a 10-win season, and they're like, "All right, well, it's been a successful season." No, it's not a successful fucking season. So I
right.
feel like the fan base reflects, call me crazy, but I do feel like some fan bases reflect on players, and I feel like the Dolphins fan base is one of them. Because if you're saying you're fine with an 11-win season, And the players probably already think, well, we did our job. This is a successful season. The fans are happy. So whatever happens, happens. No, no. Some of us actually want some championships. We want some Super Bowl win. We want some playoff wins. And I also feel like it's the culture, like I feel like that a big reason why I was so excited we signed Anthony Weaver because I think Anthony Weaver is going to be the fire we need in the playoffs where we're playing like ass. He's going to say something. I feel like Mike McDaniel really doesn't speak up like that. He's more of a, it's fine, guys. It'll be okay. Instead of like somebody like Anthony Weaver that's going to tell you like, yo, we're playing like fucking trash. We need to step it up.
Mm,
So I also feel like this team is a little bit soft too.
right. The point that I like that you brought up was the fan base, because truth be told, man, I think the fan base, in all honesty, is just. I think the fan base is pathetic at this point. Because if I'm being transparent with you, man, like I done seen and I done heard the things that a lot of these fans be believing, because I'm in like one or two group Dolphin pages. And what bothers me is it's like what you said. Everyone just seems to be okay with mediocrity. That everyone just seems to be okay with just being good enough. And that, in my personal opinion, needs to stop, because the goal at the end of the day isn't to just get to the dance. The goal is to get to the dance and actually compete once you're there. And this team has not won a playoff game in almost a quarter of a century. That alone is inexcusable. And it needs to be something that's addressed. Because if you're going to sit here and sell people on going out to get Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, going out and trading for Jalen Ramsey, giving them this money, going out and signing all these $100 million deals. And then on top of that, what do you have to show for other than you losing out on franchise pieces? Christian Wilkins walked, Robert Hunt walked. Brandon Jones was nothing to write home about, but he was arguably the best you had at safety for the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not saying he's not replaceable, because I think we got better with Jordan Poyer, but Jordan Poyer is 33 years old. How many years you think he got left in the tank?
He's only on a 1 year
And
deal.
exactly. I'm like, these aren't dudes who are going to come in and play 3-5 years, and you haven't won in forever. And I get it. You're trying to stay competitive now because you feel like you still have a team that compete now. That's fine. But the issue is, why should I believe that's the case when you haven't done it? And I see other teams figuring out on a year-to-year basis, and you just simply have not figured out. I mean, we just seen the Texans win a playoff game with a rookie quarterback who missed, I think, 2 games last season. They was without their best receiver in Tank Dell, arguably their best receiver at least, in Tank Dell for half the season after he got hurt. They literally were down their quarterback, best player as a playmaker, their starting running back the entire season, and won their division. They didn't make excuses. They didn't use the injury bug as an excuse like a lot of Dolphin fans seem to do these days. They didn't use the excuse of not getting calls in games. They simply went out and got the job done when they needed to most. This
Look at
team
the
has not
Lions,
done that.
bro. The Lions made an NFC Championship appearance before we won a playoff game.
Exactly. The Lions. And what did the Lions go out and do this offseason? They got better. You went out and got the 2 or 3 defensive pieces to add to an already good defensive line. DJ Reader was a huge signing for them. They went out and got guys who will make them that much better, because why? They're not accepting just good enough. They're trying to get to the
Exactly.
next level. And that is the difference between those franchises and our franchise. And that's the difference between their fans and our fan base. Our fan base is content on being flashy and not necessarily producing. I don't care if Tua led the league in passing yards. What did it amount to? It amounts to nothing. It sounds good. It do. But at the end of the day, what did it give you? What did you win? Did he win an MVP? Did he make a first team All Pro, second team? Did he do? Like, he made a Pro Bowl. Congratulations to him. He got voted in. Congrats. Like, what are we doing? Like I don't understand at this point. It's confusing because I thought we had higher expectations for the team, other than them just being good enough to the point where they almost good enough. I thought it was more than that, and it's confusing me, man.
And I feel like a big part of why this fan base is so delusional has to deal with a lot of the older fans that saw like the undefeated Dolphins team, because you're in the same groups that I'm in. You like I could you probably can attest to this too. I can't tell you how many posts I've seen from these old heads saying, well, I mean, if you look here, it says, Tua is the only quarterback since Marino to make a Pro Bowl. So that shows we have a franchise quarterback. That shows he can be really good. No, no, you know who else made the Pro Bowl? Mitchell Trubisky. I'm not
Right,
moved. I'm not
right.
moved at all. Like, just because like Tua being the first quarterback we've had to make the Pro Bowl since Dan Marino, to me that sounds bad. Like,
It
that
is
shows how
bad.
trash our franchise has been since Dan has retired. The fact that
Yeah,
we're still having a question if Tua's actually the guy, like, it's crazy. That shows how bad we've been. And there's no
right,
way people can be content and see the way Tua plays and be content with how he plays and how limited he is. We can't be
right.
content with that. We have to upgrade at some point. But people, like you said, they see the him leading the league in passing yards and they see the quote unquote accuracy. In my opinion, it's gotten a little bit worse. I'm not even gonna hold you. And not gonna lie, he's been low key careless with the football this year, way more careless than he was the
Oh
year
yeah,
before.
more so than any other year for sure.
More so than any other year.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think,
That definitely was a step back.
bro, I think the biggest point you brought up is people they tend to make excuses too much. Like, Tua had no excuse this year at all. Like, some did we have a beat up line at times? Yeah, but you still played. You didn't get hurt. You know what I'm saying? And then you had, I don't know, man. I keep ranting about this damn fan base, but they just make excuses instead of
But
just admitting that we're mediocre.
but you see, this is my biggest issue, and this is my thing to why I say what I say in regards to the excuses. Because there's a lot of you listen, like I said before, man. I listen to a lot of Dolphin podcasters. Whoever, if they make Dolphin content, I promise I listen to them at least once. I promise you, I did. And the one consistent thing I always hear when it comes to Tua, when you have a overly positive fan, in my opinion, versus a realistic fan, is that there's always a but, and there's never just he needs to be held to another standard or accountability. There's never that. It's always he needs this, he needs that. Oh, we didn't have this in place. You can't expect him to work without. This is what franchise guys do. You don't pick a guy top 5 to say that he needs everything else in place to be perfect for him to look good or to give you good play towards the end of the year when you need it most. That's not why you draft a guy top 5. That's not. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that because they, for whatever reason, have built in excuses now for the guy. But at the end of the day, they took him at number 5 overall over Justin Herbert because they thought he was a difference maker, not a guy that they thought they needed to put all pro talent around to get something out of him. That's not what they thought they were drafting. And a lot of people seem to have forgotten that. And that is an issue. And for me, it's asinine because people really seem to have forgotten that. Like, we're not talking about a fourth round, fifth round pick. We're not talking about a project guy here. This is a guy that people said was pro ready outside of a hip injury. If he was, it was people saying if he was healthy, he probably could have went first overall.
He probably
But
could have won the Heisman.
exactly, but now we need to make every excuse in the book for him because he's not panning out to be what we thought he was going to be. At some point, we just got to say, you know what? Maybe the guy not as good as we thought he was. At some point, we have to say that. It has to come a point.
And I also feel like this fan base needs to realize that this isn't Alabama Tua that we got. Like, what I mean by that is people are so content, especially in this fan base, to bring up what he did on Alabama. Like, you say Tua has a weak arm right now. And watch how fast his fan base would say, "But did you see his throw to Devontae Smith in the championship game? Yeah, bro, that was before he was injury plagued. We got the Tua that went through fucking that had a season ending hip injury. We got Tua with a fucked up arm. We got Tua with fucked up feet. Like we got the
Yeah.
we got the we got the scraps of what Alabama Tua was. And
Mhm.
cool, we maximize what Tua is now. We tried, but it just has to come to the point where we have to realize it's not what we thought it was going to be. We took a chance, and maybe Miami took a chance on Tua because they didn't want the Drew Brees thing to happen again, which I would understand. But look what the 49ers did with Trey Lance. They saw it wasn't going to pan out, and they moved on, and they're
Mhm.
still in positions to win. At some point, we have to be honest with ourselves. We did all that we could for Tua. We gave him a defense. We gave him an O line. We gave him a run game. We gave him fucking weapons. It comes to a point where we got to stop making excuses for the guys and accept he's just not the fit for us. He's not us, and we got to move on.
Right. I completely agree with that, man. I think it has come to that point where people are coming up with more excuses than answers, and it has to come a point where you just accept reality for what it is. And the reality of the situation right now is just, I mean, I don't. If gun in my head right now, you ask me, God forbid, you ask me if Tua, do you think he's good enough to go into next season and win a playoff game? My answer is no.
Yeah,
He what? Why would I believe differently? What has he shown you the last 4 years? And I think a lot of people forget this. He's not only been bad the last 2 years in December and January. I said this before. He's been awful since his rookie year,
hmm
and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because his arm is tiring out or he's getting fatigued. I can't tell you. But since his rookie season, when he took over for Ryan Fitzpatrick, and when Ryan Fitzpatrick got hurt, and he had to play in the Buffalo game, in the Buffalo game, in the Tennessee game, all these games that you needed to win to get in, he was dreadful in all of them. He was terrible. There's no other way to look at him. He was awful.
trash.
And then when you go back, you feel me? You go back the second season he was there when he started questioning whether or not he was really good at football. You see him, he playing awful. Like I said, against the Titans, he played awful against the what other team that was. Oh man, it was another team he played bad against. I can't remember who it was right now, but he played bad against teams where you needed wins out of him to get over that playoff hump or to possibly make the playoffs. And then you come in with Mike McDaniel, a guy who believes in you. You absolutely look like shit against the Niners, and a game that was very much winnable. And if anyone don't watch the game, the biggest problem and the only problem, in my opinion, that game was Tua. The throws was there to be made. He didn't make them. It is what it is. Call a spade a spade. He played like shit against the Chargers that same
Mhm.
year. He played bad.
Trash.
He played bad against the Packers that same year, and you
Yep.
lose all three of those games. What's the pattern? The pattern is the quarterback, and we all know what happened this year. So what's the pattern? Well, the pattern is number one taking the field, and he's not living up or playing to the expectation. That's the pattern. And at some point, it has to just come to people and say, you know what? Maybe this guy just ain't built for the moment like we thought he was. Maybe he's not the same guy that came into the national championship game and won the game for Bama on his own. Maybe that's not the same guy.
It's not.
Maybe maybe he doesn't have the arm anymore. Maybe he doesn't have the confidence anymore. Maybe he just doesn't have it. Maybe we have to start just saying, you know what? Maybe he's just not the guy no more. Maybe he's just not, and that's okay to admit and say. And that's another issue I have with the fan base, that whenever you admit or you feel you share an opinion that's negative
They
about a player,
drag you.
they drag you. It's like, bro, you're acting as if we can't just pull up the film or the numbers and show this stuff. Like, it would be different if I was just hating, but this 4 years of evidence. Like, what are
Yeah.
we talking about?
And on top of that, would I rock with the Niners with trading Trey Lance? I mean, Brock Purdy was lightning in the bottle for them, but they knew when they fucked up. or they knew that it wasn't going to work, or it was probably going to take too long to whatever the reason it was for Trey Lance. They realized it's not going to work right now. We have a championship team. He's not the answer. And then they got blessed with Brock Purdy. We have a championship team right now. The problem is the quarterback. We are too limited. Imagine if we even had a guy like Kirk Cousins before the Achilles tear. How crazy that offense would look. With much stronger arm, better at progression, through his progressions. Like it's little things like that. So it also comes from Chris Greer. Like when are we gonna realize Tua's limited and he can't bring us anything? Like I don't know. I don't know what's stopping us from moving on from Tua and getting Shador next year. I think that should be the option because Shador does everything better than Tua. A little bit more. Like Shador is probably going to be the most accurate quarterback next year. He has a much stronger arm than Tua. He's a little bit more mobile than Tua, a little bit more athletic than Tua. Like I don't see a reason why we don't look at Shador, but I think people are just too afraid that I guess to Dolphin standards, we finally have a competent quarterback since Dan, and they don't want to move on from that. And
Right.
quite honestly, like I get it, we haven't had a quarterback since Dan, but just because somebody made a fucking Pro Bowl since Dan doesn't necessarily make them a good quarterback. That just shows how ass we've been at getting quarterbacks.
Right. And what a lot of people not realizing, man, and the biggest issue, and this will be the last point I'm making, we'll get off into another topic, is that a lot of people not realizing, man, the AFC ain't getting worse, man. It's getting better. I
Way
mean,
better.
the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. I know Rasheed Rice got some stuff going on right now, but
They got
regardless of who
Hollywood.
take the field, for 15, man, 15 gonna make magic happen regardless. And then you got the Jets in your own division who's gotten better. I mean, they had a damn good offseason, man. I mean, Hassan Reddick coming in, Tyron Smith coming in. I mean, they shore up the offensive line with some help as well. I believe they signed a new center and a guard as well. I can't recall their names right now, but they had a damn good offseason, bro. They really did. And you top that off with getting back Aaron Rodgers. I don't care if Aaron Rodgers is 50%. He's gonna be a million times better than Zach Wilson. So that's all you needed. You didn't need perfect. You just needed him to be better than Zach Wilson. And Aaron Rodgers at his worst is better than that. So they'll be okay. And then you look in the division still, yeah, the Bills lost some talent, but Josh Allen's still taking the field. Yeah, the Patriots, you don't know what the Patriots might be. New head coaching time, new scheme, new players. You never know. So then
Still
you
have
look
a
outside
lot of
of that.
money.
Exactly. Then you look outside of the Patriots, I mean the AFC as a whole, you still got to worry about the Colts, AR-15 coming back, CJ Stroud coming back. The Tennessee Titans had a pretty solid offseason. I mean, you look around the league and you look around your conference, these teams are getting better.
The
And what
Browns
are we
got
doing?
better. Browns got better. They added Jerry Judy.
Browns got better. The Raiders, if the Raiders can figure out a quarterback, they'll be all right.
Yeah.
Like, they'll be all right. But I
No
mean,
telling what Pittsburgh is going to be either.
yeah, yeah, truth be told, man. But let's move on to the next topic, man. We're gonna do a far too early predictions in terms of record, and we're just gonna go through the play, not the teams that we're gonna play. I'm not gonna say whether they home or away. Those official things, they're out, but I just want to go through the opponents and what we know based off these opponents right now. Who do you favor to win? And if you want to give an explanation, you can. So, first team up, we got the Houston Texans, and it's at Houston. So,
Houston.
okay. See, I got Houston at that one too. I think they got better, man. Getting Danielle Hunter was huge for them,
They're getting
honestly.
back Tank Dell. You're adding Joe Mixon. And then, shit, bro. I mean, Derek Stingley finally going to be fully healthy. Like, it's going to be a tough game, man.
He had a good season last year.
It's going to be a tough game.
Next team, Indianapolis. That's you at Indy too.
I have us winning, but I think AR might whip our ass a little bit though.
Yeah, I could see that game going in a way either way. I think that's kind of interchangeable because we've struggled mightily against athletic quarterbacks, man. We just
Mhm.
have. It's been bad for years, and I've been saying this about AR-15 for the longest, man. Like this dude has the making of to be the best quarterback in the league. He just has that kind of
If
it
he
about
fixes
him.
his accuracy, it's bad for everybody.
He has that kind of talent, man. I'm not saying he will be, but if you going off potential, the ceiling, his ceiling is the sky.
Screw the potential. Just look at the film, man. The film is crazy,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, then we got the Rams. That's at Los Angeles.
I have the Rams on that one. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think the Rams. I think they had a quietly good offseason too. I think they've done a nice job rebuilding this team through late round picks. So
Mm.
I can see the Rams taking that, but that's another game that's kind of interchangeable for me. So then you got the Bills at home.
I will always choose Buffalo against us. We just connect. We can't figure it out, man. We can't figure him out. It's always Stephon Diggs making us his bitch. That's
Yeah,
always been the story going up against Buffalo.
yeah, he seems to kill us every time we play him. So right now we got what 1 and
We're like
4,
1-3, right?
one
We're
and
like
three, yeah, 1 and 3. So 1 and 3, not too hot, but you might can hit a little win streak right here. So you got New England.
yeah, we beating them.
All right, so you got the Jets. You at
Oh,
home this game. You at home.
that is tough. I think we win at home.
Okay. I agree with that. I think we're gonna split with them if Roger stay healthy, of course. Then you got Jacksonville, you at home.
Yeah, we're beating Jacksonville.
All right, so 4 and 3, you're above 500. You got Tennessee at home.
I think we beat them. We finally get our revenge.
All right, 5 and 3. Then you got Arizona.
I think we beat them, but depending if they do get Marvin Harrison Jr. and don't be dumbasses, I think that would be a very close game. I think it would be entertaining. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think the game will be close because I think they got a good coach over there. He coaches competitively.
Good
He
tight end too. Trey McBride is really good.
Yeah, so I could see them making it competitive at least because even last year with less talent, they were in almost every game. So I can see them making it competitive. But I still think you should win this game at home. Then you hit a little bit more tougher assignments. You hit not Green Bay, my bad, San Francisco. You got them at home.
Yeah, we're losing to San Francisco.
All right, so you 6 and 4 right now. Then you at New England.
We beat New England.
All right, you at the Jets.
We probably get stomped out.
You at Seattle.
I'm gonna say we win that one. I'm gonna say we
All
win.
right, so right now we at 8 and 5. You at Buffalo.
We lose.
You at Cleveland.
Damn. That's a toss up for me because I'm kind of thinking how is Watson gonna play this season? Because if we saw anything what we saw last year, I'm not gonna be too worried for about Deshaun Watson. The only thing that would scare me is that defense and Nick Chubb. But fuck, I'm very not confident. I say we win, but I'm not confident at all.
All right, that's one I could go either way in my
Yeah,
opinion. So I'm gonna give that one a L because I think the defense is gonna make the difference in the game. So right now we're looking at 8 and 7. You got Green Bay. You at Green Bay.
I think Green Bay beats us.
All right, so 8 and 8, and now you got Vegas. You got Vegas at home.
I think we beat Vegas.
All right, so from what we just said, the Dolphins we got them going 9 and 8, or depending on how you look at the Cleveland game, 8 or 9, 9 or 8. So
Yeah.
now I don't think that's good enough to make the playoffs if that's the record.
Hell no. No.
That's not good enough, man. Because and when you look at this is a pretty tough schedule, man. Outside of the stretch where you playing the Jags, Tennessee, and Arizona, which the Tennessee Titans beat you last year. The Jags, I mean, they
They
may
may
not
lay up
be
games. They're not
they
layup
may not be
games.
they may not be perfect, but the Jags are still a pretty solid team. And then you got Arizona, who again I said already, they may not be the most talented, but they competed every game, man. So you got some teams on here who you gonna look like you're gonna have to work for some of these wins.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough.
Going
But
up against
let's get
strong
into our
defense too.
yeah. Let's get into our last topic of the night though. So because after this I'm gonna have to go. But
Bit.
let's get into it with our would you rather Jalen Ramsey edition. So like we always do, we're gonna name some corners around the league who you gonna take over. So first name up, L'Jarius Sneed.
Sneed. I'm
Okay.
gonna take Sneed.
I'm taking Sneed right now too. I think he peaking at the right moment, man. I really do.
Hell yeah.
Jalen Johnson.
Oh man, turn the film on, man. That's a monster right there. Yeah, give me Jalen Johnson.
Okay. I still slightly will take Ramsey, but it's not. I'm not mad at all at Jalen Johnson. Man. I've been saying for the past 2 years he's the most underappreciated player in the league.
That's a
But
monster right there, bro.
I love Jalen Johnson, but I still slightly edge Ramsey. Let's go with Patrick Surtain,
PS2.
PS2.
Yeah.
Trayvon Diggs.
Oh, Ramsey.
Okay, Ramsey. All right. I could agree with that too. I like Diggs' ball skills, man.
Diggs
He
has
a good.
also gotten better man to man as well, a lot better.
Yeah, his technique has gotten a lot better for sure.
But
Next
I
name,
still
Sauce Gardner.
hot take. Give me Ramsey, yo. Sauce hold too damn much.
Okay. I think those guys go either way. I'm gonna go with Sauce because I think he's a little younger. So I think he got a little bit more left in him for longer. So I'll go with Sauce strictly because of age. But I think they're similar players.
Yeah.
Let's go with Stingley. Darius Stingley.
Right now, I'm going to slightly lean Ramsey,
Okay. I ain't got no problem with that. I'm
but I
going
like
Ramsey too.
Stingley. But I like Stingley a lot.
I do like Stingley too. And this, to me, this the most debatable one. Jair Alexander.
Man, Ramsey played a hell of a season coming back for a guy that fucking came off of a bad injury like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
He did.
Jair
He
also,
played well.
that dude too, man.
Yeah.
I don't
These
think there's
these
a.
yeah, these two arguably the last 3 5 years been the best at the position.
Yeah,
So
they've been top three, bro. Top two, top three. I don't know, man. I'm gonna just be safe, stick with my Homer self, and say Ramsey. But Jair is really fucking good.
yeah, me personally, man, I gotta go with Jair at this point. I think Jair just got. I mean, I know he had his injury woes last season, but when he was on the field, man, he didn't look like he lost a damn step. It was some games Ramsey just he he wasn't bad by any means, but he looks like he's falling vulnerable to a lot more of these double moves, and he's not disciplined on his eyes like he once was,
Yeah.
in my opinion. But that'll be all for the show, man. Appreciate y'all for always tuning in. Appreciate you, Lewis, for always coming through, my brother. Regardless
Of
of the
course.
time, it's always nice and pleasure to speak with you. You got anything you want to say to the people before you head out?
Yeah. Appreciate Last Word having me on. It's always fun to talk about Miami. Almost at 400 subs on YouTube. If you're into cartoons or anything, Lewis knows tunes. Almost at 400. Appreciate if y'all could get me there. Super Mighty Mouse Lou on TikTok. That is the sports page where I'll also be covering the Dolphins and all things other things sports. But appreciate you letting me on, man. Always love doing this.
Always, bro. And for those who are here tuning in right now, you all know where to follow me: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I'm all over. It's always gonna be under Last Word Productions. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Last Word Productions. We're live right now on YouTube and Facebook. And that's it for me, man. I'm out.
That's the
All right, my
States.
boy.